Oh, hi, Mark. Alright, so you guys are a little closer to me than normal. And that would be because my phone is charging. Because I have no foresight, and I didn't charge my phone overnight like I should. Um, and so, this is what we're getting here. A little closer because my cord don't reach that far. Alright, so this is going to be another shelf by shelf. I believe this is part 5 of the shelf by shelf little series we have going here. I mean, we've basically ripped through more than half of the collection as far as on the regular shelves go. Of course, the collection is being updated all the time. So now these shelves have stuff that you guys haven't seen on them. Or maybe you have, but in like update videos and stuff. But what are you gonna do? I can't exactly just go back and redo all the shelf by shelves every single time I get new movies. So whatever, they're outdated. Who cares? So yeah, this is gonna be part 5 of the shelf by shelves. We're starting out here at M, which is where we left off. We left off with a mega shark. And so, by the way, guys, before we start, I'm going to let you guys know, for whatever reason, this shelf has a lot of shit I haven't seen on it. Like, I don't know what it is about this shelf, but I haven't watched a lot. Well, it seems like a lot to me, of the stuff that I haven't watched. For example, Mermaid Lake of the Dead. I haven't actually seen this movie. It looks cool. I just haven't seen it yet. And then we have this double feature here with Whoever Slew Auntie Roo and What's the Matter with Helen? Yeah, so I've seen Whoever Slew Auntie Roo. I watched that for the first time when I picked this up. Odd movie, man. Like, very strange. Like, it's like a rated G movie. Yeah, GP, which is an outdated rating. But that's basically a G rating, right? And man, it's weird, man, because like there's nothing in Whoever Slew Auntie Roo that's particularly not G-rated. It's a very dark movie. Like, it's a really dark premise for a film, and so it's a very strange, like, PG, G sort of rated film. And then I've never seen What's the Matter with Helen. Haven't watched that one yet. Midsomar, of course, this movie's fantastic. You really can't complain about Midsomar. I got this for really cheap too. The local grocery store rents out movies, and so basically every once in a while they'll have a movie that just isn't I guess tickling people's fancies anymore, and so they get rid of it. And I don't know, I got this for like $4 or $5. It was pretty cheap. Mirrors with Kiefer Sutherland. It was an okay movie. It was interesting. But it's got an interesting ending, too. I recommend giving Mirrors a watch. And then Mirrors 2 was a bit of a dip in quality, in my opinion, from Mirrors 1, but I think I remember this movie being sufficiently fun. The Mist. Great shit. Awesome stuff. Again, like a cosmic horror sort of film. And it's great cosmic horror. Just really cool stuff. Okay, so Monster Brawl. We're getting into one that I haven't seen. Couldn't tell you a thing about this movie. I thought it sounded funny, honestly, hilarious. So I bought it from a local thrift store. Haven't watched it since. Monsters. This is, on the other hand, a film that I've watched. I thought I remembered it. I think at the time I thought it was a little boring when I first watched Monsters. But I also think that I was yammering to my friend like most of the movie, as that is what we do when we watch movies. We just sit there and we BS, which is pretty detrimental. But typically, movies I watch with him for the first time, I will go back and rewatch myself, just to, pick up on whatever I missed. It's I don't like screwing up an experience and then just never amending it. The Mothman Prophecies. This is an awesome movie. If you've never seen the Mothman Prophecies, I do highly recommend it. And yes, it is in the horror section. Why wouldn't it be in the horror section? The Mothman Prophecies is creepy as shit. It's really cool. It essentially is a horror movie. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh my god, it's a thriller. There's a certain type of thriller where when you compare that thriller to a horror film, it almost becomes semantics at that point. So it's just not worth... It is just not worth debating on whether it's a horror or a thriller. I feel the same way about movies like Psycho, and even to a lesser extent, like The Silence of the Lambs and Seven and Manhunter, stuff like that. But Mr. Jones, this was a pretty good found footage flick. I haven't watched it in a while. But from what I remember, Mr. Jones was pretty good. The Mummy, this was one of the first horror movies I ever saw. This is an action horror movie. This is the one from 1999 with Brendan Fraser. Like, I grew up on this movie. Let me scoot over here so I'm not, like, cutting off the movies with the side of the screen. But, yeah, I basically grew up on this movie. It's a super fun movie. And then The Mummy with Tom Cruise. I haven't watched this movie yet. And I bought this movie, I think, back... Hold, please. Alrighty. Oh, my lord. Now I gotta adjust it again. Okay, there we go. Okay. Buddy called me seeing if I wanted to go to Chick-fil-A, but I work today. Which sucks, because I really want some Chick-fil-A. Said he'd get me something, though, so... Dakota, you the real MVP. Anyway, yeah, The Mummy with Tom Cruise. I'm pretty sure I've had this movie since, like, almost since it came out. It says 2016, so I probably had this movie since 2017. Which is ridiculous. I bought this movie for like $3.74 or something like that on Black Friday. It might have even been $1.96, but that's why I bought it. Honestly, this movie didn't look really good to me. Still doesn't, evidently, because I haven't watched it. But I figured I'd buy it and maybe I'd watch it one day, because I do have like a minuscule interest in seeing it. Anyway, The Mummy Returns with Brendan Fraser. This movie's not as good as the one from 1999, honestly. It's alright. It's passable. Like, it's still fun because it's, like, still Brendan Fraser and the original cast. The guy that plays Emotep and Evelyn and the face tat guy there. Like, they're all really fun in the movie, which is why I like The Mummy Returns. But let's just say I'm not a fan of the ending with The Rock, where he's the Scorpion King and, oh, God. Yeah. He's this giant CGI monstrosity. Man, oh man. The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. I know a lot of you guys are judging me for even owning this movie. But I'm trying to find the date on it. Oh wow, 2008. That's crazy. I actually went to go see this movie in theaters. I would have been 8 years old when this movie came out. So I went to go see this movie in theaters at 8 years old. I think that's the last time I ever watched this film because we didn't have it. Like we never got The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Again, I still think this movie is pretty fun. I can see that it's not the greatest film in the world. Like, looking back at this movie, I understand that, but it's, I don't know, it's fun enough, I think, for me to rewatch. Murder Party. This is a film I got at the Dollar Tree. Like, again, the Dollar Tree, every once in a while, they just knock it out of the park with some of the stuff that they have in there. And Murder Party is for sure one of those things. This is a really cool movie. Yeah, it's really cool and very, very funny. I highly recommend Murder Party. My Name is Bruce, one that I unfortunately have not seen. I'm actually waiting on this one. I figured I'd wait till next time I go over to my buddy's house, because I think this is something that we're both going to enjoy. A movie about Bruce Campbell kicking this thing's ass. I don't even know what that thing is, but this movie looks amazing. And yes, it's in the horror collection. I'm considering it a horror comedy until I'm proven otherwise. The Neon Demon. This movie was a little disappointing. I like movies like this, like the kind of slower burn, sort of artsy movies. I really do. But the Neon Demon was just kind of, it is alright. It was alright. I will say that it is shot beautifully. Keanu Reeves is in it, so that's like always a plus. Keanu Reeves is kind of a douchebag in this movie too, oddly enough, since like I don't know, whenever Keanu Reeves is in a movie, you just expect to love the guy. But anyway, very interesting film though, for sure. Night of the Living Dead. This was the first copy of Night of the Living Dead that I ever acquired. The first time I ever saw Night of the Living Dead, I'm pretty sure I was at my grandmother's house, and it was on Netflix at the time, and so I was watching Night of the Living Dead on my mom's laptop at my grandmother's house, on one of the recliners in the living room, waiting for my aunt to come pick me up. That is a pretty vivid description of the first time I saw Night of the Living Dead. I'm pretty sure that was also the first time I saw Terminator 2. I think I watched that like in the same setting as Night of the Living Dead, so. Night of the Living Dead, again. I bought this edition because it has these 5 bonus movies on here. The 5 bonus movies are House on Haunted Hill, which I already owned. That's not why I bought it. But Dementia 13, which I actually had not owned. Night of Bloody Horror, which I did not own. The Brain That Wouldn't Die, which I did not own. And Nosferatu, which I did not own. And actually, up until getting this at a Dollar Tree not too long ago, I had never seen Nosferatu. So this is how I watched Nosferatu for the first time on this weird Night of the Living Dead 5-pack that we have going on here. And to be honest, Nosferatu, kind of boring. It's still a pretty cool movie, but it's not my favorite adaptation of Dracula, let's just say. Nightmares and Dreamscapes. This thing isn't that great, actually. It's like a season of this TV show. Well, it wasn't really a TV show, because it's not like it. I don't think it went on more than this season, if you can even call this a season. But it's like 8 mini stories portrayed as episodes of a television show, sort of, and they're okay, honestly. They're okay at best. I haven't even seen all of them because I don't know, there are some of them that I just had so little interest in seeing. Night Shift, I got this film at the Dollar Tree, still haven't watched it. It looks interesting, though. No Good Deed. Alright, so I'm gonna guess that a lot of you guys hate this film. Which I understand. It's a pretty cheesy movie. I think it came out in 2013, right? 2014. I was a year off. Okay. So it came out in 2014, and so what you guys got to understand about this movie, I went to go see this movie. This was one of the very first horror films that I ever saw in theaters. I think this was the second horror movie I ever saw in theaters. Yeah, because I think first was Insidious Chapter 2, and then I went to go see No Good Deed at this theater that we have here, right next to me. A ways. That theater has like gone out of business, and then it reopened with only one screen where it used to have 3 screens. Anyway, I'm over explaining this. But I went to go see it with my buddy, and I remember that was like the first time that we were in a theater and there was like no one in there. There was like one other guy sitting all the way across the theater from us. So that was, I don't know, it was a pretty fun experience. The Nun. I know what a lot of you are thinking. Why do you own The Nun? This movie sucks. And the plain answer is I don't think The Nun sucks. I kind of like The Nun. I think the atmosphere in this movie is incredible, so bite me. Okay, this movie probably sucks, so Nun's Deadly Confession. I got it at a Dollar Tree, guys. Oh boy. At the time, I was just buying every horror movie I came across at Dollar Trees, without even really caring if they sucked or not, because, hey, it's only $1, but now I'm a wee bit more cautious about that, but, yeah. Nun's Deadly Confessions. Movie looks terrible. The Offering, speaking of Dollar Tree movies, The Offering was a Dollar Tree movie. I don't know, because I haven't seen it. Because, once again, it was a Dollar Tree movie. One missed call. This is actually a film that I have interest in seeing. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Yeah, it's the remake of the Japanese one, so this is the American one. I do need to get the original Japanese ones. Weren't the original Japanese ones done by... I want to say they were done by Takashi Shimizu, who also did the Ju-On movies, and even, I'm pretty sure he did all the American Grudge movies. I could be wrong on that. I'm not like this big Japanese horror movie expert. I just started getting into Japanese horror. But anyway, moving on. Orphan. This is a great movie. And apparently it was, like, more or less based on a true story. Or maybe it wasn't based on a true story, but something like this happened to have happened in real life. I was watching the Joe Rogan Experience not too long ago, and they talked about, like, a real case where something similar to this happened. Of course, in the real case, the chick wasn't as old as she was in this movie. In the real case, she was like 19, 20 years old. But still extremely unnerving. But this movie is... You want to talk about unnerving? Orphan is very unnerving. The Orphanage. You want to talk about not unnerving? I know this movie gets... It gets jacked off quite a bit. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not one of the people that's going to do that for this movie. I don't get it. You know, I I constantly hear people, whenever they're talking about the orphanage, they're like, oh my god, it's so chilling. I'm so chilled. It's like, really? Are you really? Because the ghosts in this movie, you know, the ghost's motivation in this movie, they want a mommy. The ghosts want a mommy. That's stupid. I'm sorry, it's stupid. It's mildly unnerving. Like, I guess that technically that's the same motivation as a ghost in dark water, but at least they're scary about it, because the ghost in dark water, like, skip ahead 10 seconds if you don't want me to spoil dark water for you, but the ghost in dark water ends up ultimately killing the mother in order to get a mommy. These ghosts, they're not really scary. I'm sorry. The Orphanage, I know people love it. It's not one of my favorite films, though. The Ouija Experiment. I'm pretty sure I have seen this movie, like, way back in the day when it was on Netflix. I don't know. I remember it being okay. The Ouija Experiment 2. This is one that I have not seen. Bought it at the Dollar Tree. I bought both of those at the Dollar Tree. For whatever reason, I have a really bad habit of going to the Dollar Tree and buying movies with Ouija in the title. Yeah, it's a terrible habit. Speaking of which, Ouija House. This movie looks god-awful. Again, I bought it because it was $1. Like, I need to stop doing that. But, I don't know, Ouija House, I'm gonna give it a shot. If it does really suck that bad, I'm gonna get rid of it somehow, but Ouija Origin of Evil. This is actually a rather good movie. This movie does kind of have that. Not too long ago, I was talking about movies that feel like they kind of pretty up the characters to a point where they don't look like real people. And I was talking about how it makes movies kind of cheesy when people do that. This movie has a little bit of that going on. Like, it's too clean and polished. Like, all these actresses are under, like, 900 pounds of makeup to make them look perfect and blemishless. And it's too much. I don't know. It is a very good movie, though. But seriously, movies need to stop doing that. It's obnoxious, honestly. Ouija 3, the Charlie Challenge. For the life of me, I can't figure out what Ouija 1 and 2 are. Because I know this isn't a sequel to Ouija and Ouija Origin of Evil. What it leads me to believe is that basically they just named this Ouija 3 to capitalize on Ouija and Ouija Origin of Evil. And that is a gross marketing technique. It's disgusting. Because I cannot, for the life of me, figure out what the Ouija 1 and 2 in this are. So, for all I know, this isn't even a sequel. For all I know, this is a standalone film that they called Ouija 3 to capitalize on the success of Ouija Origin of Evil. Which is just absolutely disgusting. Because did it come out after? No, actually this movie came out before Ouija Origin of Evil. Maybe not. Maybe it does have a 1 and 2, but it doesn't really matter because I can't find 1 and 2. I'm sure not that I'll want to see 1 and 2 once I've seen that movie, but it'd still be nice to know. Alright, Overlord. This is a pretty neat movie. It's... The trailer kind of depicted it to be something that it's not really. Which is unfortunate. First and foremost, this is it's more of a war movie than it is a Nazi zombie movie, which, in my opinion, is just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of wasted potential. on Overlord's part. I just thought it would have been cooler if it were some kind of zombie outbreak in Europe during World War II, but what do I know? Panic Room with Jodie Foster. This is one of those movies that everyone's going to be like, oh, but Malachi, that's a thriller. Oh my gosh, it's a thriller. I can't believe you have that in your horror section. Whatever. Judging by... I've never seen this film. I could be wrong about this. Judging by this, there's an intruder that breaks into a house, and he's trying to get Jodie Foster. That's horror enough for me. It sounds like a home invasion type film. Oh, 3 intruders. Either way. I haven't seen it yet, so... Oh boy, Paranormal Abduction. This is a movie that I constantly forget I even have. Because it's one of those movies that I'd never heard of until I stumbled across it at a Dollar Tree. Man, yeah, this movie looks bad. I'm sorry, I'm being rather negative, but it does. It really does. Alright, we are nearing the end. We're at the Paranormal Activity movies. Paranormal Activity 1, I remember this being pretty neat. I like Paranormal Activity 1 personally. Paranormal Activity 2. This film is pretty good. Once again, I think it's Paranormal Activity 2 that I actually have memories of, like... I was over at a buddy's house, and I was watching Paranormal Activity 2 on Netflix, and I kept falling asleep during it, and then I'd like slip into a nightmare, and I'd wake up because the nightmare was so scary, and then Paranormal Activity 2 would be on, so that would be scaring me. So yeah, fun times. Oh god. Paranormal Activity 3, which I have in this shitty Blockbuster rental case. Actually, I don't even think this is a rental case. What this looks like to me is that someone, like, printed out a Paranormal Activity 2 over, like, an insert to put in... Oh, God, yeah. That's what it looks like to me, and it's pretty gross. Honestly, I should change DVDs just so I don't have to look at this anymore, but... is what it is, I guess, for the time being, until I decide that it's a big enough problem that I buy a different copy of Paranormal Activity 3, which I almost guarantee will happen at some point. By the way, I do really like Paranormal Activity 3. That is possibly my favorite one of the franchise. Paranormal Activity 4, I actually enjoy this movie. Like, this movie is pretty decent, honestly. I don't mind Paranormal Activity 4 at all. Whatsoever. And then we skip Paranormal Activity, the marked ones. I do not own that movie. I saw it back in the day on Netflix, and it's pretty trash. So unless I find it somewhere like at a thrift store or the Dollar Tree, I probably won't ever own it. Because I just don't ever see myself going out of my way to purchase a copy of Paranormal Activity, the marked ones. But if I happen upon it, maybe. But Paranormal Activity, the Ghost Dimension, which I bought at a pawn shop. I have not seen this film because I don't expect it to be good. But I had an interest in seeing it because I like the other Paranormal Activity movies. So at the very least, I could give this a shot. I'm not expecting big things out of this, so... yeah, I think... probably should have stopped after Paranormal Activity 4. Which you won't hear me say that often. I am a fan of franchises. I really am. In my opinion, you milk that franchise for all it's worth. Because the fans love it, and so do the jackwagons that are profiting off it. So, oh, bud. Doing okay? Gosh, come here. Come here. Ow. I smacked my fan. Come here, buddy. Poor guy. You heard someone hacking up their entire life. That was my doggo here. But, yeah. He tends to do that randomly from time to time. It's nothing to be alarmed about, I think. I don't know why he does it, to be fair, but he does just kind of randomly go and sound like he's gonna vomit everywhere. But he doesn't. He's only puked one time. It was gross, though. Tell him how gross it was. It was pretty nasty, huh? Yeah. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. If you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I take requests if there's any kind of movie that you would like to see me review, you know, whatever the case may be. If there's a certain part of my collection that you'd like to see, a certain topic that you want me to talk about, of course it's within the horror genre sort of thing. Yeah, and thank you guys for watching. I will catch you guys on the next one.